use any kind of microphone inside your acoustic guitar, then this video is for you, because I'm going to be going through my methods of getting the best sound that I can out of my internal acoustic guitar microphone. Now I'm going to be using the NV-Tone Swan for this demonstration. Now this is a condenser microphone, so you do need to plug it into some kind of preamp that has 48 volt phantom power. And I'm going to be plugging this directly into the MT48 audio interface. Now one of the most common problems that people have with any microphone inside an acoustic guitar is feedback. Now that's mainly what we're going to try and tackle in this video, because most microphones actually sound great as they are if you compare them to pickups. Most pickups require a little bit of EQing and adjusting to get a decent sound, whereas microphones, we want to try and keep as much of those frequencies as possible, so we're just getting rid of those problematic frequencies that cause feedback. By the way, I have a free community where we often talk about all this stuff over on my website at fabianholland.com, and if you want to sign up for that, then use the first link in the description down below. So the first thing that I would do is I would get the microphone in the best position possible inside your guitar. Now, if your microphone is in a fixed position, then obviously there's nothing you can do about it. It's just, it is where it is, and that's that. You have to just deal with that. But if you have it on a gooseneck like this one here, this is the NV-Tone Swan, then you can really bend it and move it around the guitar and get it in the best position possible, both for the best sound and for the most feedback resistant. I find that internal microphones are best when they're pointing outwards and very close to the strings. That way I find you're not picking up too much boominess of the guitar, and also because it's very close to the strings, you're going to get that nice detailed string sound as well. Now another thing you can do before we get to the EQing is give it a pop screen. Now NV-Tone actually sell these separately, but I'm sure you can also find them for whatever microphone you have. And NV-Tone actually have some little filters which you can pop inside the windscreen, which will cut off a little bit of those high-end, some of those harsh high-end frequencies that you can sometimes get. So this is another way that you can change the sound of the microphone before you actually start EQing. By the way, I'm not going to be going over like reverb and compression and other effects in this video. I think that's something for another video. In this video, I just want to focus on EQing, and EQing specifically for problematic frequencies when performing live. So that's mainly the feedback, because I find that's the main problems that people encounter when performing live with a microphone inside their acoustic guitar. Okay, so I want to just show you the EQ that I'm using and how this works so you understand it. So here's the screen now. So you can see at the top there, we have the frequency spectrum. So all the way to the left is very low, and then all the way to the right is very high in terms of frequencies. So that left parameter is decibels, so we can, when we go down, we're going down in volume, and then when we go up, we're going up in volume. And then you see these dots here. So we have orange, green, blue, and purple. So let's pick one of these now, and we can go down with the frequencies. And you see it's very narrow. So that allows us to pick a very narrow group of frequencies, a very specific group of frequencies, and that's what parametric EQ allows you to do. You know, we could also go change the Q to very wide, look, and then it changes, and then we're affecting a massive group of frequencies. But when you're trying to control feedback, you want to get rid of only the frequencies that are causing you issues. You know, we're trying to keep as much as possible. So something like this will give us that control. On the left here we have type. I'm not going to use that. That just basically, if I want to go for a very specific type of EQing, like low cut, low shelf, you know, high shelf or anything like that. I don't really want to do that. And then we have obviously frequency. So then, you know, we can go all the way through the spectrum and choose our specific frequency. Gain lets us boost those frequencies or cut them down. And then the Q is just how much of that, how many frequencies are we going to affect, you know? And that's what we want. So then you see we can actually have, so it's a 4-band parametric EQ. So we can affect it kind of 4 times, 4 of these points that we can change. And that is a lot of control, you know, that we have here. So I just wanted to kind of show you the program, what type of EQ that I'm using, and how this works. So now I'm going to go through each of these bands, the orange, the green, the blue, and the purple. And what I do is I boost the frequencies. So I'm boosting, and then I search with that boosted low end. I find the problematic frequency. There's not too much on the low end, and then I cut it. I'm not doing too much cutting, and then again here, you hear that? Okay, so there's a lot of problematic frequencies around that range, so I'm being careful. There it is. Then I cut it, but I just cut it a little bit. I didn't cut it too much. And then the next band, same again. I boost, and then I search. There we go. It's feedbacking. Yeah. Then I cut. And the last one. Boost, I search. Found it, and then I cut. It wasn't too bad on that high frequency set. And you notice I'm not being too narrow with my frequencies. I probably could have been a bit more narrow there and kept a lot of more of those frequencies, but I wanted to, sometimes I'd rather be a little bit wider and affect a few more frequencies just to make sure that I'm not, none of them are going to cause me any problems around that area, you know. And I'm not cutting them dramatically. You see that each one is not like, I'm not going all the way down with those frequencies. Otherwise I'd cut too much, you know. I just cut them a little bit just so that they're not causing me any more problems when I'm playing, you know. And they're not. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're just trying to cut as much as we need to without there being any more feedback issues, you know. Because with microphones, we want to keep as much of it as possible, because generally it just sounds great, you know, especially in a live situation. So if you don't have a parametric EQ, then you might have something like a graphic EQ, which is like this, or you might have just a simple kind of something like this preamp. So if you have a graphic EQ, whether you have 5, 8 or 10 band graphic EQ, or maybe you have a 31 band EQ, I would just go through and kind of boost each one. So that's how I find it. It's just boosting, hearing if there's a problem with that specific frequency. If there is, then cut it. What a lot of people do is they just kind of play around, go up and down until they can hear something that they like, and that's the problem with that, is that there's no system involved. You want to come up with a system where it's very efficient and quick. You don't want to be kind of messing around until you can, because then it's just kind of guessing work, and you might end up actually making things worse if you do that. So I would say try and keep with the same system no matter what you have, with this boosting each frequency and then finding something. When you find something that is causing feedback or that you don't like, then just cut that. But only cut it as much as is necessary. Don't cut it all the way. Then if you have something like this, then I would just kind of go through the low, the mid, and the high in a similar kind of thing, Boost each one, have a listen. Is that causing you problems? If it is, then just cut it, but just enough that it's not causing you problems anymore, And you can even have like a system even for something as simple as this. Also, one thing I can really recommend if you have an internal microphone is to combine that with a pickup. This is something that I use all the time and it really gives me a great sound. The pickup will drive a lot of that low end, a lot of the volume that you might need in a live setting. And then the microphone will cover all the detail and all those really nice airy sounds from the guitar, those nice frequencies that we want. The microphone is great at that. And the pickup will give you that low end and that extra volume that you might need. So I really hope that you got something out of this video and that you will have more success using your internal microphone. Don't forget, if you want to sign up for my community for guitarists, singers and songwriters, then use the first link in the description down below. It's completely free. Other than that, have a fantastic day. And if you want to keep hanging out, then click on this video over here and I'll see you over there. Bye.